Hello everyone, Dave Landry here from DaveLandry.com, and this is Trading Simplified. So what are we going to talk about? Well, I'm going to continue along the lines of a lot of discussions that we've had lately as far as letting the ebb and flow control your portfolio, and I'll show you the importance of that. Also, I have some examples of some swing trades which turned out to be fantastic longer-term trades, and I'm going to flesh that out in just a few minutes using the current portfolio and working backwards. Do have follow-up on a mystery chart, and spoiler alert, it ended badly. I want to follow up a little bit on the profit centers and especially focus on the altcoins, which I have an announcement there for you guys. Pretty excited about that. And by the way, housekeeping, I do take requests. If there's something you want me to cover, just let me know. DaveLandry.com/contact to let me know. If you want the slides from this presentation, all three of my books in PDF form, and a plethora of other stuff, go to DaveLandry.com/StockCharts. So I want to follow up on a mystery chart before we get into the methodology in action. So this is GH. As you can see, it was in a nice longer term uptrend, as I said a few weeks back. Bow ties are in proper uptrend order, bow tie moving averages. You can see it makes brand new highs here, but notice that that peak isn't really that much higher than the prior peak, so it has lost some steam. The moving averages begin to come together, and notice that in general, the stock has rolled over, and you can see down here with the proper order indicators, it went from green to yellow to red, meaning that you have a bow tie, and the moving averages have flipped from uptrend proper order, 10 greater than 20, greater than 30, to downtrend order, 10 less than 20, less than 30. 20 and 30, by the way, are exponential. 10 is simple. Pulls back. So we got a nice little setup here. The stock looks like it's in a lot of trouble. Entry here, stop up here, initial profit target down here. So now I'm going to show you something that a guru has never shown. When I'm in person giving presentations, I say, I'm going to show you something that you've never seen. No one has ever showed you this. And everybody sits up, wakes up. And then I show them a losing trade. So let's look at what happened. Initially, it looked pretty darn good. Triggers, but unfortunately reverses and stops us out. It, spelled with a silent SH, happens. So you can see we lost $2,000, and this is on a $100,000 account, a hypothetical $100,000 account, just to keep everything educational. I do actually take these trades. I did feel this pain. I feel your pain. The goal is to not lose more than $2,000 on a trade and hopefully make a lot on a trade. And I'll show you a couple of those that made a lot. So I want to talk about letting the ebb and flow control your portfolio. And this is especially true when things get iffy. A few weeks back, as you know, I got a little bearish. Why? Well, because I had 34 potential shorts in my Landry list, which is my list that I call down to every night. I go through a couple thousand stocks at least. And I only had two longs. And the two longs were in energies, which you could argue can be a keyword in that sense, trade independently of the overall market. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stocks that we were long at this particular point in time a few weeks ago on the 15th of March. And you might be thinking, well, conditions don't look so high, Dave, and you're long a whole bunch of stock. Why don't you just bail out on those and then get back in later? Well, you have to see each position to its fruition. And let's take a look at what happened since then. So if we go back in time, you can see not a whole lot has happened in ARLP. So a bit of a shoulder shrug on that one. But over the last week and change, it certainly has begun to improve. So far, so good. It's up a little today. Better than a poke in the eye. Now, CLB, we had a stop down here. And as you can see, sold off, hit the stop. And that was for a profitable trade. So, yeah, you hate giving up open profits, but it comes with the territory. It's one of those things that you just have to accept. And as I preached about a while back, acceptance is a big part of trading. And still better than a poke in the eye. $1,000 on the first loaf and $810 on the second loaf. Now, percentage-wise, those moves are decent, right? 18% of the trade, 15% of the trade. That's not a bad move at all. But we're focused more on making money than worried about percentages. So about a 1.8% gain overall on the portfolio. Better than a poke in the eye. Now ASO, this one's looking a little bit better. As you can see, Since the market was a little questionable, it's had a pretty decent rally in here. So far so good on that one. Now CPE down a little bit in here, but like the one I showed you a couple slides back, it has improved. ARLP, I think, was the stock. It has improved over the last week and change. Let's take a look at APG. You can see it sold off fairly hard. Probably made you question whether or not you should have stayed long. By the way, I was working with somebody earlier about micromanagement. He's having a little trouble sticking with his trades. Well, the bottom line is there's always a reason to exit a trade and rarely a reason to stay. So just let that stop take you out. You can see this one has improved tremendously. Fortunately, it has not stopped us out, and now it's banging out some new highs in here. So if you want more information on the trading service, you can go to davelandry.com/trading service. And if you want to learn more about the methodology, I'd recommend you go to davelandry.com/archives, and that's free. And you can go in and look at each one of these trades. Go and look at the archives back in mid-July last year, and you'll see this stock. You'll see what I thought about this stock. You'll see why I liked it. In fact, you can go back and watch the old Trading Simplified shows, and most of these were probably mystery charts at some point in time. We've been blessed with some really good mystery charts if you've been watching some of these shows. Notice that we have decent open profits. This is a snapshot from about 2 days ago. But notice that most of that money is in this one position, CPE. So that's $19,000, almost $20,000, plus another $925. So roughly $21,000. And ASO has decent profits, so another $6K there and change. And then another $5 or $6K in the APG. So a couple of big winners, or even one big winner, can make all the difference in the world. And down here, we just got stopped out of this one, $4,000 and nothing, a scratch in the second half. Better than the poke in the eye is what I say on that. Obviously, if you're only making $1,000 on a trade and you're risking $2,000, eventually you're going to blow up your account. But if you occasionally have a $20,000 or a $30,000 or more winner, it's going to make all the difference in the world. We're playing for that outlier. So this ARLP, you can see it here, is kind of so-so. These other positions, decent. And then the ZIM is kind of a question mark. So far, still at a loss on that one. It was up a little earlier, so maybe it'll just work out. So again, if you want more information on trading service, davelandry.com/trading service. On sale now. And then you can go to the archives, which are free. And you can learn a lot about the methodology, watch as many as you can stand. And then each day when I do my daily video, I do put a little education in there if there's something to be learned from the market, if there's a teachable moment. So I think it's worthwhile going through those archives if I say so myself. So let's rewind these setups back to the beginning. Here we have APG. As you can see, nice trend higher followed by a pullback. Now this is an IPO. In a normal stock or an established issue, I wouldn't trade such possibly a deep pullback or a pullback that took that many days. But in IPOs, I find sometimes you have these deep retracements, and I call it an FDR, a first deep retracement. So entry was here, stop was down here, initial profit target was up here. And you can see it kind of meanders around for a little while, but it does within a couple of weeks hit that initial profit target. So we get our swing trade out. At this point, our stop is to break even. And it's been a pretty good ride ever since. It's taken its time going higher, but that's fine. The longer the basis, the more sustainable the move is. So far, so good, knock on wood on that one. Notice below, this is the plugin, my plugin for ACP. And the plugin's free. All you have to do is like this video and you get the plugin for absolutely free. And that's the Landry light, which is shown below. And that just tells you whether the lows are greater than the moving average, and you could put in whatever moving average you want. But I like to use, in more recent times at least, the 30-day EMA. You can see this stock here was green for quite a while, begins to sell off. You begin having downside Landry light, it pulls back. It's also a bow tie. If you zoom the chart in, put the bow ties in, you can see that it has come together and crossed over. Pulls back. Entry was here. IPT, initial profit target down here, protective stop up here. Let's see what happens. Triggers an entry, sells off nicely, hits initial profit target. Looks like it's going to zero. We're feeling pretty good about our short. We'll bring our stop down to break even. And we just sit back and relax. I know, haha. And then bam, we get knocked out on the remainder. So 1,000 on the first loaf, 0 on the remainder, 1% gain, 100K account. Better than the poke in the eye. Sometimes people complain about getting stopped out at a profit. I tell them to send me the money, because that money is making you frustrated. It's making you angry. Send me the money, then you can be happy. 30 years of doing this, I've never received a check in the mail, but I'm hopeful. So again, better than a poke in the eye type of trade. Let's take a look at CPE going back to last fall. As you can see, it was in a downtrend, as evidenced by the highs being lower than the 30 EMA, or in other words, downside Landry light. Landry light went to green. Nice little thrust higher from lows, pattern I call a first thrust. Also was a nice bow tie. You can see that, again, downtrend forever. Nice little bow tie higher, suggesting that the trend may have turned proper order to the upside as the moving averages flip, followed by a pullback. Now let's take a look at what happens. Entry here, stop down here, initial profit target up here, rallies up, hits the IPT, and then we just trail the stop higher. And so far, as you can see, this has been a fantastic trade. It came fairly close to stopping us out, but so far so good. Not too far from all-time high. So as you can see, this is how we turn a relatively low risk, 2% is still a lot of money, and you can still have a gap against you, obviously, but a relatively low risk trade into a longer term trend trade. I would recommend you watch the money management module, and that's behind a firewall. But if you don't have that, you can get a taste for what I'm doing there by watching older Trading Simplified shows. I would recommend you watch the money management shows, where I talk about how we go in for a swing trade with relatively low risk, but we stick around as long as the stock or the market, as you'll see in a few minutes, moves in our favor. Here's Academy, nice uptrend, IPO, a little bit of a pullback. In this particular case, it was also a Landry light pullback down to the EMA. Notice it went from green down to no green as it pulls back. Entry here, stop down here, initial profit target up here. Let's see what happens. Takes a little while to get there, and that's why I preach patience and not micromanaging. But so far, so good. It's been a pretty good trade. And once again, like the CPE, it nearly stopped us out. But fortunately, by following the plan, we're still long the stock, and we have been for a long time. By the way, me putting out a trading plan every day, from a selfish standpoint, that helps me follow my own plan. In fact, the trades that I do outside of the service are much harder than the ones that I'm doing with the service, because with the service, I know I have to follow along. My clients are in the stocks, so I have to be in those stocks too. And it makes my life a lot easier. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want to get better to trading, just make a plan and follow that plan. As you can see, ARLP, downtrend forever. I didn't realize this. I knew it was an energy stock. I didn't realize it was a coal stock until I plotted it in ACP. And coal stock, I thought we were in an environment where fossil fuels are bad. Why would a coal stock be going up? I don't know. Don't confuse issue with facts. But you can see nice Landry light to the upside, as evidenced down here with this Landry light indicator, or you can just look at the chart and see the lows are greater than moving average. Nice little pullback. A little kiss of the moving average. Entry here, stop down here, initial profit target up here. Triggers an entry, nearly stops us out after hitting the initial profit target. And so far, just kind of hanging in there. Now, maybe it'll take off out of this base into space. And I used to always say that. I didn't realize that's Ralph Akabar. I thought it was my original thought. There's nothing new in the sun, huh? Zim, you can see longer term uptrend, a little bit of a pullback, TKO type move. It's also an IPO, which is kind of exciting. Entry up there above the TKO, stop down here, And it triggered on a bit of an opening gap. I didn't take the trade initially, but I did get in when it began to rally a few days ago. And so far, not so good. Really hasn't done so well, but let's just see what happens. We get stopped out, drop an F-bomb, and move on. I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about profit centers. And specifically, I want to talk about the altcoins. So trading slightly more advanced. And again, as I said recently, profit center would be an ancillary technique, possibly like an opening gap reversal like we talked about last week, Russian doll type trade, or in other markets where you're using the core methodology, but the markets are somewhat not correlated, for instance, in crypto. And the question is, does your methodology work in crypto? As we say in Fargo, you betcha. And like I said last week, just keep in mind that everything works better with trend. And I'm going to flesh that out in just 1 second in a lot of detail. And the bottom line is all methodologies can be categorized and will have certain respective nuances. I see all these people out there, these gurus, claiming they have some kind of holy grail. The bottom line is you could boil any methodology down to something far more simpler. For me, for instance, my stuff is just simplified trend following. That's all it is. They're here. Altcoins. I asked the powers that be over at StockCharts to give me some altcoins, and they got me some altcoins. So I want to show you how I trade altcoins. But before we do that, I want to caution you that these altcoins are backed by nothing. There's nothing backing these things up. It's just like the US dollar or the British pound or the Japanese yen and the Zimbabwe dollar. So there's nothing behind these things. I was cleaning the garage a while back. I know you find that hard to believe if you know me. Anyway, I found this. I have a currency collection, and it was all over the walls of my prior office. There's just not enough room in this new office here for all this stuff. We downsized. Anyway, long story endless. I bought a bunch of these a while back. They were like $1 each. I bought a huge stack of uncirculated ones on eBay, and now they're like $60 each. So I wish I would have hung on to them. I gave them to my friends and all. It's like at lunchtime, I'll throw them out like, hey, I got lunch, and I'll throw out $100 trillion. But this is an actual note, and I have it right here in my hands. It's pretty amazing. So that's how crazy things have gone. And, by the way, that currency is so worthless you can't even wipe your butt with it. In South Africa, there are signs posted. I did an article on Bitcoin, and that was kind of my point, that the fiat currencies, which is pretty much every currency in the world, fiat means not backed by anything. It's backed by the government. Oh, that's exciting. Anyway, there's signs in South Africa like they said, don't throw diapers in the toilet, don't use newspapers to clean yourself up, and don't use Zim dollars. So you can't even wipe your butt with it. It's so worthless. Although, as a collective value, those $100 trillion notes are worth a little now. I wish I wouldn't have given them all away. Oh, wow. Now, don't look at the altcoins as an investment. They're simply just another trading vehicle. Money and position management are key. I have a nickname that a lot of traders call these things, which I can't say because this show is PG-13 or PG. And they truly are S-coins. But we can make a lot of money in them when they're moving. Now, here's the thing to realize with these altcoins is when the SHTF, 2 days ago, I started working this presentation. I was all excited to show you all my open trades and how great I was doing and all. And this morning, as I'm finishing up my slides, I found myself many times stopping the presentation. I found myself stopping work and going over and exiting a lot of these things or making sure my stops were in place. So let's take a look at some live charts. So again, we're just going to trend follow in these things. For the most part, what I preach here in these shows with the core methodology is the same exact thing that I'm using. Every now and then, I play relative strength and breakouts, but that's in runaway momentum market. So if all those numbers I just showed you from that screen snapshot were green, we would be in a runaway momentum market. So as of right now, we are not. So let's shift gears and switch over to the ACP platform and take a look at some altcoins. So we take a look at the 1 inch, and you can see that had a nice uptrend back here. And then obviously we had the Landry light green, pulls back to the moving average. So it depends on how aggressive you wanted to be. Let's say you had an entry here, you got triggered in, and so far it really hasn't done anything. So you'd have to be willing to stop yourself out somewhere down here around 350 or so on that one. Now take a look at AAVE. Obviously nice Landry light back here for a long time. A little bit of a pullback to the moving average. And you can see it down here. Comes back down to 0. In a case like this, looks like you would not have triggered into this position. So no capital is put into harm's way. And now, well, there's nothing to do. It's going sideways. Taking a look at ADA, you can see you've had nice Landry light back here. Little pullback to the 30 EMA. Nice continuation of the uptrend. Nice little knockout move. Continue higher, but then really hasn't done a whole lot lately. So if you're long this one, obviously you'd have to have a stop in here, maybe down here somewhere, and be willing to stop out. Let's take a look at Algo. A little bit of a Landry light back here, as you can see. Nice little breakout. If you're in a breakout market, then trading breakouts is a thing to do. If not, more often than not, they do fail. You can see little Landry light here, another pullback to the EMA, and then it really began to accelerate higher. Nice little TKO into the 30 EMA. And a trigger, a reasonable trigger, would be somewhere around the high of this TKO. And after going sideways for quite a while in here, I would just pass and wait for the next symbol. Did you hear that? My Cajun just slipped out. I would just pass on that, chat. People are like, you don't sound Cajun. Like, listen long enough, you'll hear it. All right, let's take a look at ANKR. Nice Landry light here. Nice little TKO. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nice little run higher. Absolutely beautiful. And now it's setting up again, as you can see. So this is kind of cool in here. I think this is worth going after. This is one that I will be going after soon. Plausible entry, probably about right here would be a good place on that one. A little bit above this TKO type of bar, a pullback bar, whatever you want to call that. Atom, as you can see, nice little breakout here, a little pullback to the EMA. You don't have a lot of days here, but on such a big breakout, playing a pullback right after, I think, is a pretty good idea. It took a little while to get started, but then it really blasted higher and then pulls back to the 30 EMA. You can see that down here in the Landry light indicator. I think a plausible entry in a case like this would be above this TKO-ish type of bar. And then after a while of no trigger, you simply sit on your hands and wait for another opportunity. So continuing on, you can see Dan made a nice little run in here, and then TKO-ish type of move again down here, Landry light, back down to the moving average. And a plausible entry would be like right here. It's gone sideways for quite a while, so there's nothing to do there at this particular point. Let's take a look at that. This one's kind of interesting. You can see nice Landry light here, and then pulls back to the EMA. So plausible entry probably right around here. I did take this trade. And if you go in and watch last week's presentation, I pointed out all the instruments that I was long. And so far, it's had a pretty nice run higher. Now, remember, you want to make sure you're taking partial profits of these things and then trailing your stop higher. BNT, you know what they do? I have no idea. You can see nice little Landry light here, a little bit of a pullback, nice little thrust higher. This is fairly textbook in here. Even though it didn't get to the 30 EMA, it's pretty nice looking setup. And then obviously you'd probably want to take some profit somewhere along the way, trail that stop up to at least break even, and then sit and wait. Just sit and relax. I know. Haha. Now, Bitcoin we talked quite a bit about in prior presentations, but notice that you had your pullback to the EMA back here. In fact, you go way back in time, little textbook pullback, the EMA took off, consolidated a little bit, took off again, pull back, take off, pull back. Now, one thing with these patterns is eventually they stop working as the instrument loses steam. You can see we have certainly lost some steam in Bitcoin, so now might be the time to just sit on our hands for a while now that it's going a little bit sideways, or wait for the breakout. And who knows, maybe if it breaks out, other altcoins will follow and we can get back into a momentum type of market. But you see all this red over here? This is a market where you want to mostly sit on your hands and wait for opportunities. Comp, nice little run higher here with the Landry light, pull back to the EMA. And plausible entry probably in here somewhere. So you may still be long with a stop down here below this low of the pullback. CRV, nice Landry light here. TKO into the 30 EMA. Plausible entry somewhere in here. In a case like this, you probably got stopped out at a loss. Let's take a look at Dash. Nice Landry light higher. Nice pullback to the EMA. Plausible entry probably above this TKO bar. You can see it's gone sideways for a while. So in a case like that, no capital is put into harm's way. No trigger, no trade. Take a look at DOT. This is kind of an interesting TKO here. Notice that a couple things. First of all, notice it accelerated higher and then pulls back to the EMA. This is a beautiful entry back here. Nice little run higher. Nice little TKO here. All the way back down again to the 30 EMA. But a plausible entry somewhere in here. It's just kind of going sideways for a while. So in a case like this, I would pass on the trade because the momentum has slowed. Now, if we get into a breakout market, nice little trend like this. But Dave, how do you know if you're in a breakout market? Well, look at your percent change over here. If you see a lot of green over here, some really big numbers, then we're in that relative strength, momentum type of market. And then it's really easy. The easiest thing to do is just stay along the top, let's say 5 currencies. I use that term lightly in here, Zimbabwe-like currencies. Just stay along the top 5. I had a client years ago, and when things are blowing and going and momentum's doing great, he would take my Landry list and he would do just that. He had a little free app on his phone that would show him the biggest percentage gains of the day, and he would take my Landry list, which is my call list for my service. Those are the actual stocks that I'm looking to trade, and he would just stay in the top 2 or 3 stocks all day long. That's all he did, and he paid for 2 down payments on 2 of his investment properties just by doing that. Now, it doesn't work when you're not in a momentum market. So you see all this red over here. You don't want to be long the 5 smallest losers. You want to wait until that's mostly green and be long the 5 biggest winners. EOS, nice little trend higher here. TKO's down to the 30 EMA. Case like this, plausible entry, let's say here, it's gone sideways for a long time. So there's really no trade in this particular one. Now, about a week or so ago, I did get long EOS, and if memory serves, it was on this bar and no later than this bar here. And the reason was we were in a breakout market back then. Look how it's going higher. I feel like Tiny Elvis. Look at that market, it's huge. But it was more of a breakout market about a week or so ago. In fact, that's why I was all excited to show you altcoins this week, especially since StockCharts has added them to their platform. But unfortunately, it's like right when you get all excited about something, it stops working. But it will work again. So ETC, you can see kind of a nice little accelerated move higher, nice little pullback to the EMA, plausible entry right here, but it's gone sideways for a while, so I'd stay out of that market. Now, here's another one that I did play on the breakout about a week ago because we were in a breakout type of market. Well, I got so excited talking about altcoins that I missed my deadline. So I realized that by the time you see some of the setups that I showed you today that were live, they might not be relevant. But that's okay. The setups will show up again. Pay attention for things like Landry light pullbacks, especially when you get like a TKO into that 30 EMA. And then when you see all green on the right side in the list, meaning that everything's just going up, you could be in a breakout momentum, relative strength type of market, and then focus on just staying long the top 5 or so coins. And I think you'll do really well. But of course, make sure you use money management. I'll tell you what, over the next several weeks, I'm going to spend more and more time fleshing these out, and maybe we'll find some setups in real time. I want to thank everybody for watching this week. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. If you need to find me, davelandry.com/contact. And if you want a lot more information, all free, davelandry.com/StockCharts. Get to know me first before you spend any of your hard-earned cash. Again, thanks for watching, and may the trend be with you.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.